Hello, Disney fans. Glad to be back to making videos. Not getting them out as fast as I wish, but having a lot of fun doing it. And I've been looking forward to covering Descendants for a long time. Descendants started out as a Disney Channel movie. If you're my age, you probably think of movies like The Cheetah Girls, Xenon, Halloween Town was a popular one from the Disney Channel movies. But Descendants took off to a whole new level of popularity. And like most popular things, I got into it after it had kind of reached its peak. I only saw the first one well after the third one had been made. So I was late to the game, but I fell in love with these movies right away. And I didn't think I would at first because it sounded like, okay, we're throwing the descendants of the villains in high school with the descendants of the Disney heroes. And I thought it would just be a really badly done high school story. And I also didn't like the idea that this took place in what appears to be the modern world, when these are fairy tale characters. And you may say, hey, wait a minute, I've seen your other reviews and you love Once Upon a Time. Isn't that the same basic idea? Not exactly, because in Once Upon a Time, there's an explanation for it. All the fairy tale characters were sent to our world because of a curse. Here, it's like the modern world always was their world. Even though there's still magic, it's still very much a fantasy world, but it is modern in as far as having technology we would recognize, computers and such. But once I set those preconceived ideas and prejudices aside, I really grew to enjoy this series. It starts out by explaining that after Belle and her beast got married, and that is one annoying thing about this, they still don't give him a name. According to um, Disney filmmakers, the beast's real name is Adam, but they only call him King Beast in here. Anyway, he and Belle are the leaders of all the fairy tale kingdoms because after they were married, apparently every kingdom there was decided to form the USA, United States of Oregon, and appoint Belle and the Beast as the rulers of everything. Well, years have passed and they have a son named Ben. And now they are going to step down and make him the king. That's that kind of threw me off at first because they never explain why they're stepping down. I mean, Ben's still a teenager. They're not that old. It doesn't really seem like there's a need for them to step down. But anyway, that's what kicks off the story. He comes up with the idea for his first act as king to bring over some of the children of the classic Disney villains. They've all been exiled, both the villains and their children, to a place called the Isle of the Lost. And he says, hey, wait a minute. Their kids didn't do anything. They're innocent in this. Let's bring them over. Now, this idea does not go over well, especially with the beast. He's like, no, these guys are going to cause big problems. They are the worst villains ever. Their parents were the worst villains ever. We can't have this. But we see a bit of character from them when they finally back down and agree. And I love that we actually do get to see who they are a little bit here.
The children are innocent. Don't you think they deserve a shot at a normal life? Dad.
I suppose the children are innocent.
There's a fair bit of irony here as Belle is played by Keegan Connor Tracy. The irony is that this same actress plays the Blue Fairy in Once Upon a Time. If you're familiar with Once Upon a Time, you know that Rumpelstiltskin fills the role of the Beast, and he and the Blue Fairy are not exactly on friendly terms. So there's a there's like I said quite a bit of irony with that. These two come off a bit as kind of your goofball parents from like one of your 50s or 60s sitcoms at first. But you do see moments like this where you can tell just how supportive they are of Ben, and you can see glimmers of who they were in the original Disney movie. Now, the four people who are going to be brought to Oregon are Mel, the daughter of Maleficent, played by Dove Cameron.
They say I'm trouble. They say I'm bad. They say I'm evil. And that makes me glad.
Jay, the son of Jafar, played by Boo Boo Stewart, who you may recognize as playing Seth Clearwater in the Twilight series.
Dirty, no good, down to the bone. Your worst nightmare can't take me home.
Evie, the daughter of the evil queen, played by Sophia Carson.
Got some mischief in my blood. Can you blame me? I never got no love.
And last but certainly not least, Carlos, the son of Cruella de Vil, played by Cameron Boyce.
I think I'm callous, a low-life hood. I feel so useless. Misunderstood.
These four make up the VKs, the villain kids. Now, life on the Isle of the Lost is terrible. It's basically the equivalent of kids living in extreme poverty in the city slums. You would think that the VKs would jump at the opportunity to go to Oregon. Not so much. They've all got preset ideas of what life there will be like, and they really would rather not go, even though it would make life a lot easier. But Maleficent has a plan. If they go to Oregon, they can get the fairy godmother's magic wand. So she basically forces all of them to go. They don't exactly get a warm reception when they get to Oregon either, starting with Princess Audrey, who is the daughter of Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, her meeting Mal is going to go real well.
I totally do not blame you for your mother trying to kill my parents and stuff. Oh, my mom's Aurora. Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, I've heard the name. You know, and I totally do not blame your grandparents for inviting everyone in the whole world but my mother to their stupid christening. Water under the bridge. Totes!
Yeah, I'm sure those two are going to be best buddies. Yeah, right. Well, the VKs are a little distracted from their mission of getting the fairy godmother's wand at first. They have no idea of how regular people live. They don't even have fresh fruit on the Isle of the Lost. So they're enjoying all the things that they consider incredible luxuries for a while, but they do get steered back towards their main goal. Mal keeps him focused, and they find out that the fairy godmother's wand is in fact in a museum. So they go there where they find statues representing their parents, which is pretty unnerving for them. They know their parents is kind of shadows of what they were. They're not the villains they used to be. They might plot, but they're not exactly anything that most people would consider dangerous anymore. This is a reminder of what their parents were in their heyday. Well, while looking at her mother's statue, we see the first sign that Mal might want to be backing out of this, that maybe he doesn't want to be evil.
Look at you, look at me. I don't know who to be. Mother. Is it wrong? Is it right? Be a thief in the night. Mother, tell me what to do.
By the way, sorry about the reflection of the lamp off the TV. I wasn't really able to get rid of the reflection, and recording the clips off of the TV is pretty much the only way I can actually get the clips. But you get the idea of how this is playing out. Now, I try to make it a rule if I love a movie to find something wrong with it or something that I don't like about it. And if I hate a movie, I try to say something good about it. Well, for this movie, if I'm going to nitpick, if I'm going to find an imperfection in it, I would say that this comes a little bit out of the blue to see that Mal is hesitant here. Up until this point, he seemed like the VK most focused on the goal, most willing to go through with this. And we've seen none of them show any signs of thinking this could be morally wrong. So this seems a little bit out of nowhere if I'm gonna nitpick. But it might also be a sign that Mel is keeping her feelings to herself until now. So there's more than one way to interpret that. So it's not really something that takes that much away from the movie. Now it's not made entirely clear whether Maleficent uses magic to talk to her daughter here. Unlikely given they don't have magic on the Isle of the Lost. Or if Mal is having um, a vision or her own thoughts of what her mother would say playing out in her head. But in any case, it seems like Maleficent actually magically joins her here. Maleficent is played by Kristen Chenoweth. And if you are as big of a musical theater nerd as I am, you probably know her as playing Glinda/Glinda in Wicked. She's done quite a few musicals, she's made quite a few guest television appearances. She is a very well-known Broadway actress, and she can obviously ham it up and have a great time doing it, as she does in this number.
You wanna be ruthless and rotten and mad? Don't you wanna be very, very good at being bad?
I find it really appropriate that they have a Broadway actress in here, because in my opinion, this movie and the two sequels could all easily be turned into Broadway musicals, no problem. Well, after this number ends, the other VKs come back and say, hey, we found the wand. They're ready to steal it, only Jay acts too quickly and shuts off the alarm, and they all have to scatter. This would have been the end of everything for them, except we find Carlos has a hidden talent. He's very good with technology and with thinking on his feet.
Excuse me, 1 second. False alarm.
Figuring out how to deactivate the alarm and convincing everyone that it was just a false alarm, nothing to worry about. I'm pretty impressed. Unfortunately for them, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, their failed attempt at stealing the wand means they still have to go to school the next day. And I gotta say, I love the classes that they have at this school.
If someone hands you a crying baby, do you A, curse it, B, lock it in a tower, C, give it a bottle, or D, carve out its heart?
These classes might be a little hard for the VKs, given what they're studying, but they do eventually start to fit in. Carlos and Jay are signed up for the tourney team, which is a sport that's kind of like lacrosse / hockey / soccer. Meanwhile, Mel keeps using her art, only it's in the form of graffiti. And in this scene, we get the first hint that romance might just be starting to develop between her and Ben.
Hey.
How was your first day?
Super.
You should really think about taking this talent off the locker into our class. I could sign you up. What do you think?
Way to take all the fun out of it.
You can tell there, Ben's already got an attraction to Mel. And she's probably already feeling at least a little attraction to him. But right now, her head's still in the game of let's get that magic wand. You just saw her look at that girl who walked by and pay particular attention to her. Well, the girl who just walked by is the daughter of the fairy godmother. So you can see here, she's seeing a path to the wand through the daughter. Well, the daughter feels pretty plain and she wishes that her mother would make her beautiful, like she did with Cinderella, giving her all the fancy clothes and the carriage and all that. Well, Mel decides to get a little closer to Jane by giving her a makeover.
Here. Beware or swear, replace the old with brand new hair.
While Mel's focused on the job at hand, the other BKs are starting to blend in a little more to being at Oridon Prep and starting to get a little bit of a sense of belonging. Carlos actually makes friends with the campus mutt, Dude.
Jeez. You're a good boy, aren't you? You're a good boy.
This is a great way to show them the kids start to see that their parents weren't right about everything that they taught them. Carlos has always been taught that dogs are vicious rabbit pack animals and will tear him apart. And now he sees, I can actually make friends with a dog. Evie has always been taught she has to play dumb to get a prince. And that is her mother's goal for her is get a handsome prince. Because remember, for the evil queen, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. It's all about being pretty, not smart. So Evie acts the role of the typical dumb beauty stereotype until she decides to prove that she does have some brains in class. This gets her intended boyfriend Chad to notice she's got some brains, but instead of actually being attracted to her, he decides to use her for homework help.
I'd really like to talk, but
I'm just swamped.
unless if you could knock all my homework out along with yours, then maybe we could get together sometime. Hey.
Evie can do way better on finding a boyfriend than that. Well, speaking of boyfriends, the VKs find out that for Ben's coronation, the royal family, including Ben's girlfriend, can sit close enough to the fairy godmother that they could snatch her wand. Ben's got a girlfriend already. Audrey, the daughter of Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, you remember how well their introduction went there. Well, Mel decides it's time for Ben to get a new girlfriend so that she can steal the wand at the coronation ceremony. And here again we get an example of how the VKs are starting to be themselves away from the parents. We see that Evie is not the stereotype of the dumb beauty.
It says that we need one tier of human sadness. This love potion gets the best reviews, so we have to follow it exactly.
A tear's a tear.
That's not true, Jay. They both have antibodies and enzymes, but an emotional tear has more protein-based hormones than a reflex tear.
Evie is clearly really smart. And if I were her, I'd be getting sick of playing dumb. I would have been sick of playing dumb a long time ago. She's obviously useful in helping to make the potion that will make Ben fall in love with Mel. But they need that tear yet. And they get it when Lonnie, the daughter of Mulan, comes and sees what they're doing, or she thinks they're just making cookies. And they get talking about how it's such a nice thing when parents bake cookies for their kids. And the VKs have never had that. They've never had actual love from their parents.
I know. I just, I thought even villains love their kids. How awful.
Now that they have Mulan's Tear of Sadness, they can finish their recipe/spell, and they give the cookie to Ben with better results than I think they ever expected.
What was in that cookie?
Did I mention that I'm in love with you? And did I mention there's nothing I can do? And did I happen to say I dream of you every day? But let me shout it out loud. That's okay.
This is in front of the entire school because they just finished a tourney game. So I don't know if Mel is more embarrassed, more excited that the spell worked, or more flattered. I think a little bit more embarrassed. But now, speaking of the tourney game, I had to back up a bit and say we get to see a lot of character development from Jay here. Jay's family mantra is there is no team in I. And yet we see here that Jay is very much a team player. Jay could have gone for the winning shot himself, and he probably would have made it. But he chose to let his teammates do it. And even the announcer said, what a selfless thing to do here. So we're seeing more and more who these kids really are. And Ben has a conversation with Mel on their first date to let her know he sees who she really is.
Your mother is mistress of evil, and I've got the poster parents, for goodness. But we're not automatically like that. We get to choose who we're going to be. And right now, I can look into your eyes and I can tell you're not evil. I can see it.
By this point, of course, Mel is really conflicted over what she should do. And she expresses that in the next song called If Only. And this song is special. I love all the songs in the Descendants franchise. But this one could actually be released on its own as something you would hear on the radio. And you can really see the talent that she has as a singer in this one.
A million thoughts in my head. Should've let my heart keep listening. 'Cause up till now, I've walked the line. Nothing lost, but something missing.
Mel might be having trouble knowing her own heart at this point. But we can see the same as Ben, that she is not an evil person when she risked her life for him. She doesn't have to. He's actually fine, but when he stays swimming underwater for a little while, she thinks that he's drowning, and she does not know how to swim. But that doesn't stop her from going in after him.
You scared me!
You can't swim?
No?
You live on an island.
Yeah, with a barrier around it, remember? Ugh.
And you still tried to save me.
The VKs have a choice to make, but the choice is pretty much made for them already by their parents. And they get a reminder that they are not allowed to fail in getting that wand. The fairy godmother meant well. She wanted to do something nice for them since Parents' Day was coming up, and their parents aren't exactly welcome in Oregon. So she tries to arrange a video meeting for them, which only serves as a reminder of what they have to do. But I give a lot of credit to Carlos here. All the VKs fear their parents, but he probably fears his mother more than any of the others do. And yet he's the one who stands up to her here.
Oh, yes, yes, baby, I do understand. It would make the perfect size for Emma.
He's the perfect size for a pet. This dog loves me, and I love him.
After this video meeting, they start to discuss what happens if they fail. By fail, they don't mean that they'll be unsuccessful in getting the wand. You get the implication that they're saying what happens if we aren't willing to follow this path, if we make the choice to do what's right. Well, they get a big push back the other way when Parents' Day comes, and the parents are not exactly thrilled to see the VKs, especially Sleeping Beauty, Aurora's mother.
It's okay. Maleficent is still on the island. This is her daughter, Mal. Don't you remember my proclamation to give the new generation a chance?
A chance to what, Ben? Destroy us? You remember, don't you, the poison apples? And the spells?
Of course, it doesn't take long once the parents start in on the VKs for the other kids to join in, including Chad, who Evie had hoped would be her boyfriend. There was no real love lost there. And actually, Doug, the son of Dopey, has been showing a lot of interest in her, and he's been a good friend to her throughout the movie, which is pretty ironic. The son of one of the seven dwarves in love with the daughter of the evil queen. But I gotta love Evie here standing up to Chad.
Stole another girl's boyfriend. Hey, hey. Oh, you enjoy hurting people. And you're nothing but a gold digger and a cheater.
Mirror, mirror in my hand, who's the biggest jerk in the land?
The VKs are rightfully hurt by this. Ben still stands up for them, and he even says, this wasn't their fault. They didn't start anything. They were just there, and everybody started jumping on them. With the hurt and the anger that's left over from that, they're a lot more willing to go through with the original plan of stealing the wand. But Mal is still struggling with her feelings for Ben. And she doesn't want to leave him in love with her with all the havoc that's going on. She's willing to release him from that. So she bakes him a brownie with the anti-love potion in it. And she gives it to him during the procession to his coronation, telling him to eat it later. Only he grabs it and eats it right away.
This is really good. Mal?
Do you feel okay?
You bet.
Would you say that you're still in... that you have very strong feelings for me?
Not sure. I mean, let's give the anti-love potion a few minutes to take effect.
Okay.
When Ben went for that swim in that lake on their date, that washed away any spell he would have been under, because the lake had that magical ability. But it turns out his feelings for Mal are real. He realized when he went in the water that she had cast a spell on him, but he thought it was just because she liked him and thought that was the only way she had a chance with him. His feelings for her are genuine, and now she doesn't know how to handle that. Well, all of VK's parents are watching the coronation on TV because Mal hinted to her mother that that's when they would have the chance to take the wand. She hinted that during the video meeting. And the way this next scene is filmed is really clever because you think that Mal does grab for the wand.
And my joy to bless our new king.
It's actually Jane who grabs for the wand. Remember when Mal gave her that makeover? Well, Mal undid that after everybody's parents started being at them saying, oh yeah, you're just villains, you'll always be no good. And the rest of the students joined in. Well, Jane joined in on that too. And so Mal's like, yeah, forget your makeover then. Jane has been desperate to get a makeover, to get the beauty treatment from her mother. And her mother kept telling her, no, beauty is on the inside, you don't need that. Well, now she figures, I'm going to grab that wand and give myself the makeover. Only she doesn't know how to handle the wand, and she causes some damage before the VKs finally get the wand away from her. And then they struggle with the fear of what are their parents going to do. Now's the moment of choice. There is no turning back. Mel has the wand in her hand, and the choice has to be made then and there. And they make the right one.
I mean, stealing things doesn't make you happy. Tourney and victory pizza with the team makes you happy. And you, scratching dude's belly makes you happy, who would have thought? And Evie, you do not have to play dumb to get a guy. You are so smart.
They decide to follow what really makes them happy, and they're told, don't worry about your parents. They can't reach you here, you're safe. Well, that's not quite true. When Jane grabbed the wand, she actually ended up accidentally breaking down the barrier between Auradon and the Isle of the Lost, and Maleficent comes through. This ends up with a battle between her and her daughter. And the four VKs stand together, the other three all supporting Mal as she casts the spell that protects everyone and undoes her mother's evil.
Good as none when stands before four hearts as one. The strength of evil is good as none when stands before four hearts as one.
The magic that Mal uses results in her mother being shrunk down to the size of the Levener, which results in her being turned into a little lizard. And we're told that Maleficent may return to normal someday if she can start to actually feel more love. Well, the kingdom is saved, Ben is crowned king, and we have a huge dance party ending where everybody celebrates. But that's not quite the end, as Mal tells us.
Oh, I was having so much fun, I almost forgot. You didn't think this was the end of the story, did you?
This concludes the first Descendants movie, but there's two more to go, and I'm going to be talking about all three in order. You know how when you watch a movie that's part of a series, usually it goes, you watch the first one, and you think, this one's pretty good. Then you watch the second one, you think, not as good as the first one, but worth watching, okay. And then you watch the third one, and you think, why did they have to ruin the rest of the series by making this? They should have just stopped with the first movie. Well, this isn't one of those series. In my opinion, each Descendants movie is better than the one before it. There's going to be a lot of great songs, a lot of great characters that are going to be coming into the story, and I'm already looking forward to talking about it, talking about the other two movies. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope if you've watched this movie that you enjoyed it. I think it has a great lesson that isn't talked about a lot in other stories. You know, you get a lot of Disney Aesops like Be Who You Are, Beauty's Found Within, and those are good lessons. But a lesson that isn't talked about a lot is kids are not their parents, and it's not right to judge them by who their parents are. And I can think of real world examples where that has happened, where somebody automatically assumes somebody will be like their parents, and that's not right. And it's also a great lesson for kids that normally parents want what's best for their kids. But you might choose a different path than the one they wanted for you. And that's okay. It's all right to be your own person. So this movie was original. It wasn't what I expected at first. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed making this for you to watch, and I will see you for Descendants 2, hopefully talking about that next month. And until next time, remember the magic.